Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Galactic report. Today is May 2nd, 2025, and we have arrived in the week of Beltane. This week, the Earth herself celebrates Beltane, the ancient May festival. Long before the Celts, our ancestors danced to this sacred union between earth and sky. The goddess of the blooming green marries the victorious sun god Belenus, and the hawthorn blossoms under the full moon. It is a festival of joy, fertility, and wild rebirth. It marks also the midpoint between the spring equinox and summer solstice. And we still have Black Moon Lilith very active in the field. She does not simply watch from the edge of the forest. She dances at this same ecstatic fire. Lilith awakens our raw pulse beneath our ancient rites. And she wants us to live our unfiltered truth, our unshamed longing, and the freedom to choose love and life on our own terms. She, together with Beltane or Belinus, ask, can you celebrate the fullness of your being without shame? Can your joy be sacred? Your sensuality a key to your soul's longing. And so we are invited these days between Beltane and especially the full moon coming up in 2 weeks to reclaim our joy as sacred and to meet the shadow within ourselves and let our wild self remember. It is also a time to shed old contracts and choose freedom, inner and outer freedom. Deep soul agreements rise for the review now as Lilith continues her passage through Scorpio, and she holds space to what we have buried, denied, or feared to name. And now, as the flower full moon comes up on the 12th of May, also in Scorpio, her presence intensifies these energetic undercurrents. Beltane has opened the path of return of the light, and where Lilith uncovers the shadow aspects within ourselves, Beltane brings ecstasy. Where Lilith strips away the old vows, the other Beltane blesses new ones with its ecstatic fire. And this is the alchemy we are invited into now, at least for the next 2 weeks, as I said, until full moon. Let desire, truth, and embodiment merge into a sacred transformation in yourself. We had another very intensive event happening this week on Monday, April 28th. Nothing functioned at all on the Iberian Peninsula. The power grid collapsed at midday, and Spain, Portugal, and neighboring areas of France had no electricity for hours. I talked about a tension between Pluto and Mars that was exact on Saturday before. And this had felt like a cosmic transformative power struggles. And I think it found an outlet in the Iberian Peninsula. I made a video about the Pluto-Mars opposition just the day before. And before I forget, a huge shout out to my editor, who once again did an extraordinary job. He jumped in spontaneously, stayed open throughout the process, and brought his signature creative touch to the video. And all of that happening on a Sunday. So if you watch the video on YouTube, and I will link it below in the description box, please leave him a heart or a thumbs up or both in the comments. He deserves that. And again, I really do not want you to cut this out, okay? Let's ask the stars what that was all about. In Spain's chart, Pluto is on Spain's ascendant in Aquarius, and Mars on the descendant in Leo. The blackout in Spain and Portugal felt like a sudden, dramatic shift, an abrupt interruption, very much in line with the tension between Mars and Pluto. It was as though the energy of Pluto's transformative power had momentarily silenced communication and brought life to a standstill. And the raw force of Mars confronted us with both literal and figurative loss of control. In mundane astrology, the ascendant speaks about the matter at hand, and the descendant represents foreign relations, diplomatic tensions, even potential adversaries. Lilith conjunct Spain Uranus in the 9th house, and the 9th house is connected to exports, tourism, courts, and education. And yes, transiting Uranus was itself on Spain's IC, Spain's foundations. The ground shook, symbolically speaking. This blackout, in my opinion, is a major statement about tourism, justice, foreign relations, and diplomacy. And the power lines are not only electric. Another interesting opposition opened up last week when we heard that Florida passed a bill to make weather modification illegal. And at the same time, UK scientists want to launch outdoor geoengineering experiments in England. Blocking sunlight could temporarily slow the climate crisis, scientists say, but the technologies remain highly controversial. In England, it is part of a £50 million government-funded program and will make the UK one of the biggest funders of geoengineering research in the world. The aim is to block sunlight in England, of all places, reaching the Earth's surface, for example, by launching clouds of reflective particles into the atmosphere. And if that is successful, scientists say that this could temporarily reduce surface temperatures and the harm the climate crisis is causing. However, solar radiation management, or SRM, could have serious unintended consequences, shifting the weather patterns, shifting rains vital to food production. And this is something I will dive deeper, quite literally later in the next article. But just on the other side of the globe, Florida becomes the first state to criminalize geoengineering and weather modification. This legislation makes geoengineering punishable and a felony crime in Florida, and you might face 5 years in prison and $100,000 in fines. I find this interesting, those polar opposites playing out in the field at the moment, and there are even rumors about a chemtrail geoengineering program led by the Pentagon. It is said that those stratospheric aerosol injections are contained in the airplane fuel, and spray bromium, aluminum, strontium, amongst other healthy chemicals in the skies above us. I know that chemtrails are amongst the most prominent conspiracy theories, but I have researched this topic a bit, and we know that at least for the last 50 years, geoengineering has been used worldwide, and now in mainstream media with the scientific background, this is arriving in the collective consciousness of us all. And the question is, what do we do here? Back from the skies into the deep seas, 4,000 meters below sea level, scientists have found the spectacular dark oxygen. It is scattered across an abyssal plain known as the Clarion-Clipperton Zone between Hawaii and the western coast of Mexico. We are talking about polymetallic nodules, which are interesting for mining companies because they are filled with rich deposits of nickel, manganese, copper, zinc, cobalt. Those particular metals are vital for the batteries needed to power the green future, and leading some mining companies to refer to those nodules as a battery in a rock. This is an interesting idea here. However, a study reports that these nodules might be much more than simply a collection of valuable materials for electric cars and mobile phones. They also produce oxygen 4,000 meters below the surface, where sunlight can't reach, hence the name dark oxygen. And while this discovery could upend our understanding how life started on Earth, the study also complicates negotiations around deep sea mining regulations because it shows how little we really know about the ocean's depths. We have learned that for aerobic life to begin on the planet, there had to be oxygen, and our understanding has been that Earth's oxygen supply began with photosynthetic organisms. But we now know that there is oxygen produced in the deep sea, where there is no light. I think we therefore need to revisit questions like, where could aerobic life have begun? So maybe we have to rewrite another script in our collective consciousness, and not only how life began on this planet, but also it holds potential to take hold on other worlds within our solar systems, on a couple of moons such as Enceladus or Europa, for example. And again, the question is, do we really know what we do here by harvesting those rocks in the deep sea? Maybe they have a more important role to play in this ecosystem than we are aware of, like weather patterns that we interrupt with geoengineering. Haven't we learned a thing in all of those years that tampering with nature and the cycles of nature and the life on Earth and how it is interdependent, if we start interfering with that, we cause so much damage and troubles, and wouldn't it be easier to just observe and learn and then act? I will finish this report today with a question to you all. Do you know why birds start whistling an hour before sunrise? Has this question ever arrived in your consciousness, at least when you were woken up by the bird song in the morning in summer? Because birds whistle at a frequency that helps the plants and trees to open the stomata on the undersides of the leaves. And the whistling of the stars, the whistling of the birds acts like an alarm clock to wake up not only the humans, but also the plants. And they begin to breathe oxygen. A man in Iowa discovered that this frequency is also found often in classical music. So he began using it to sound plants and trees. And the increases in growth and yield were enormous. This process is called sonic bloom. It is a combination of vitamins and frequencies for the plant that open the stomata and start breathing and producing oxygen under sunlight. So also, to end this galactic report today, the symbolic bird of Beltane is the cuckoo bird. And I learned in my childhood that the call of the cuckoo brings abundance and prosperity. And I wish you so much of that. I wish you an abundant weekend ahead filled with a lot of oxygen in the nature. Enjoy being outside, enjoy the sun, do some sun gazing, do whatever fills your heart with joy and pleasure, and let's have fun in life. And with that, I leave you until next week. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.